When they cracked open those fortune cookies, they found a treasure trove of luck because these two Chinese nationals, they got away scot-free. Well, not totally. I'll explain the details of how they escaped prosecution from stealing over $300,000 in gold bars as we explore. Indeed, two men will not face charges for being caught with all of this gold. Very suspicious. This is a story that I covered some time ago, and I ignored what I thought was a repeat of the original story, which happens a lot in the news, some of these agencies, but this is actually a follow-up, as was first alerted to me by folks in the live stream that I did recently. But then Tony Erickson sent me an article about this from WFAA that goes into detail exactly what happened here. And this is quite something. So these two Chinese nationals have been arrested after being stopped on I-20 in Texas with $250,000 in gold bars at the time, now worth well over $300,000. But they will not face money laundering charges and have been turned over to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Van Zandt County District Attorney said Monday. So just recently, this is just pretty much breaking news as it's happened a few days ago. But this is what's happening, and I tell you what, for those of us who like to get gold the old-fashioned way, we work to earn it. We work to collect dollars and transfer them from unsound money to sound money. And I want to remind you that next time you are in the market for gold, to check out the channel sponsor, Summit Metals, summitmetals.com. They have some of the best deals on gold right now, and you can get fractional gold for very cheap over there. So check out summitmetals.com. The county used some of the gold to pay the suspect's attorneys as part of a civil settlement and will use the proceeds from selling the rest for law enforcement purposes, DA Tonda Curry told WFAA. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, if they are innocent and they were dismissed of any charges, shouldn't they get the gold back? Well, there's more to the story than you think. And you're going to find out why it's good that this gold was seized here later in the story. A Wills Point police officer arrested Wei Jing Chan, age 25, and Wing Quang Lin, age 46, in early August after he pulled over the Chevy sedan the men were driving for following another vehicle too closely, according to arrest documents. Sergeant Charlie Hughes, drug detection dog, alerted to the vehicle, but Hughes said he found a backpack with 19 gold bars inside instead of narcotics, and those bars range from 1 gram combi bars, 100 grams worth of those, all the way to 1 ounce Credit Suisse bars and 10 ounce bars of the stamped variety, struck in other words, and then also cast bars that weighed 10 ounces. So a lot of gold there. Very suspicious why all that gold was found in their car. And there's a lot of different theories as to what it could have been, but none of it could be proven in a court of law. Curry initially said she was planning to prosecute the men for money laundering. That was the original charge, but said that she could not make the case against them. We have to be able to prove that that the criminal activity was, what it was. In other words, how they got the money that they laundered. A lot of times it's hard when your case starts off with a traffic stop. Indeed it is. Of course, I've done a lot of videos outlining precious metal crimes, and whenever you have it in gold, it really is difficult to be able to trace, because if you paid in cash, there's really no paper trail. There's nothing, and gold in itself is something that is very much independent of any kind of tracing at all. You can't track gold other than serial numbers, and those serial numbers have to be documented. And notwithstanding, there's no paper trail with gold because it's metal and it's not gold. and it's limited. It's very valuable and a very small size. So whatever criminal activity, and make no mistake, this was a criminal organized crime ring. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's being able to tie where the money came from. Curry said she initially thought that the gold bars were proceeds from an illegal drug activity, which makes sense. But of course, we know what's been happening in the news lately, especially if you've been following this channel, because she now suspects that it may be from a group that defrauds the elderly with investment-type scams. And of course, some of these, and most of them, are not investment-type scams. They are indeed criminals masquerading as federal officials from the FBI or from the Marshal Service, saying that there's been fraudulent activity detected on the elderly's bank accounts, and in order to protect their money, they need to convert it to gold and give it to them for safekeeping. So, in other words, it's using the impetus of fraud in order to perpetrate fraud on the elderly and the unsuspecting. And that's a whole nother level of evil. But nonetheless, Curry said that she initially thought that the gold bars were proceeds from this illegal activity. She believes Chen and Lin were simply mules and not masterminds, and said that ICE officers have taken them into federal custody. She suspects they'll be deported as they crossed into the country illegally. ICE did not immediately respond to an inquiry seeking Chen and Lin's current detainee status. But when you think about it, had they not been here illegally, they would not have been used as these mules, and it would have been much tougher for them to perpetuate this kind of criminal activity. So that just goes to show you how important it is to have secure borders and to stem the flow of illegals coming into the country. No question about that. While the criminal case against the two men did not move forward, the civil case involving the gold bars had a lower standard of proof, Curry explains. This is where we're going to get into why the gold bars did not go back to the individuals, the illegals. The two men told the officer the gold did not belong to them, Curry said, and that is on camera. I actually heard that tape. So he can't give it back to them and let them go on down the road. It's not theirs, she explained. And by the way, if they were not criminals, and they did not, or weren't involved in this activity, then they would have said, yes, it's ours. It's definitely ours. So I certainly would have said that if it was definitely mine and it was legal to have, And the county reached a civil settlement in the case last month. She said the lawyers for the two men received 12 ounces of gold each as payment for the work, and the county will sell the rest. 12 ounces of gold each, that's pretty good. That's a really good deal for a lawyer. But lawyers are pretty expensive these days. Wow, 12 ounces. Take that. I wonder if they actually gave them the gold bars or if they sold them at the time. And remember, this is before the price spiked up to $3,000 an ounce. Even if I can't say exactly what crime it was, why should they be able to profit off of it? Why should it not go back into fighting crime in our communities, Curry said. And in that regard, I agree, because even if they wouldn't keep the gold, it would go back to their masterminds, to the perpetrators of the crime. And more than likely, they probably would have been in trouble for getting caught by the organized criminals. You never know what could happen. And the fact that they're being deported back to China, I think, is actually probably good for them as well, too, as they probably would be in big trouble staying here in the United States for being caught. So she said that state law dictates how the approximately $195,000 of remaining gold can be spent, and an agreement with Wills Point Police means they'll get to control 70% of the proceeds. It's a pretty big amount. She expects that her office will use most of its share to purchase new vehicles for lawyers and investigators on the team. For a small county like ours, it's a big, big relief for the taxpayer, she said. Even if I can't say exactly what crime it was, why should they profit off of it? So there it is. Why should it not go back into the fighting crime in our communities? So in the end, I guess it did work itself out there, and they're not having to worry about any kind of having to raise taxpayers' funds in order to get more gold. But, I tell you what, there's something about gold, and there's something about what she had said in an interview too, that she's checking the price of gold, and seeing what it's going for. Of course, when to actually sell it. Of course, right now she's probably smiling very big with it being over $3,000 an ounce for gold. But there it is. Now, this video is going to go in a playlist of other videos for precious metal crimes. And I like to also follow up on stories like this, but it is difficult because I recently did a video that I think was a repeat of a story that had been done some time ago. And I may have even covered it, years ago. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes some of these news agencies, they pull stuff up if they're low on trying to get viewers, or trying to get views or whatever. They just repeat an old article. But this is a case of an update from an existing thing. But there's so many different stories out there that are still left open-ended, and we don't know what's going on yet with it, or it's very difficult to get information about it. So stay tuned to this channel. I'll try my best to keep the updates going. And thanks and also to many of you who send me these stories as well. So let me know what your thoughts are about this case. Gold, it's always good to have. It's a very powerful metal for sure. And it's a good thing that this crime, at least this section of it, has been stopped dead in its tracks. But the thing is whoever originally had those gold bars, if they come forward, maybe they can claim them. I don't know. I think that's really a matter of how they deal with this, because really it should go back to the innocent victim, especially if they kept track of serial numbers and the like. But how would that be proven? Look for the police reports. Let's get the gold back into the hands of the people from whom it was stolen, if they can find them. So I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.